So I apologize about the delay. A lot of what we're going over, some stuff that we're going to go over in here. We're going to take a look at some numbers for the week, where the teams are at, kind of take stock of that. Just make sure we're in the right place here. Okay, cool. We are. All right, good. But I hope you guys are having a good morning. If you did get the vaccine, then I hope that your vaccine went well. Let me turn off the waiting room for people too. Jacob, did I spell your name right on this? Right here?
Yes.
Oh, I can see your thing. Okay, yep, I did. All right, good. All right, let me enable the waiting. Okay, cool. All right, so what we're going over, guys, and what I want to look at real quick is this bar graph here. Okay, I updated it for today. It goes through the numbers. Okay. Now, the benefit of this, and the reason why I was bringing this up is because we're going to talk today about rectifying problems that you have on the road. Okay. Now, what you'll see zeros highlighted in red. You'll see every other number highlighted in yellow. And then at the bottom, you'll see the team goal and where we're at for the team goal. Okay. You can kind of do the math on where you're at on leads and whatnot too. Right now, I'm going to kind of talk through this. You can look at the numbers as you go through. I'm just going to bring up the team numbers. If you see any discrepancies and you did write something that maybe is not in there, something like that, you can remember it. Let me know. We're going based off your text messages and the system. So we should be pretty accurate and pretty good. So what I do want to point out to you as we kind of go through this, guys, what we were just talking about here, and it's hard to talk about this stuff without sounding, kind of arrogant, but it has less to do with me than, I promise you, than it does with the rest of the team and with the way that people are performing when they're out there. What you'll notice the days that I'm out with the team, they're doing better. I'm not working with everybody, so it's not me, obviously. It's the environment. It's what you guys are bringing on those days. This 20 lead day is that day, for example. Okay. This is Team Jones, Commission Possible. And they're at 75% of their goal, which is the highest amount that we're at for the week for any team. Remember, you want to get about 20% of the goal each day, right? And it's these 2 days that obviously threw you guys off, the 6th day and the 8th day, especially the 6th day. For straight killers, because saying these team names is going to drive me crazy. We have, again, this is the day that I'm out with them on this day here. Okay. Where the numbers are really good. We have some really good numbers there. On Tuesday, we go 10, 13, 7, 7. It's these 2 days that have brought us off our goal here. The goal is slightly less for you guys, with less people, 55 set appointments. We're at 67% of goal. So it's still a very good chance to come back and get 100% of our goal. We're just a little bit down from where we want to be at. And for me seeks, and you guys make me say these names right now. It's very embarrassing. So we have, again, the same kind of trend here. Well, I haven't been out with you guys yet. Saturday we'll be out together. We have the same kind of trend here in numbers where some people are having really good days. But you'll see a lot of people getting really close to their goal 2 or 3 days a week, and then not getting their goal one of the days or 2 of the days, right? And that puts us at our team goal is at 67. That's not counting people that are newer, that this is their first week. The leads count for that goal, but the goal is not counting against the team. That's 57% of our goal. So obviously some improvement to make. Now I point this out first because what we're going to be going over today is we're going to be going over some issues that some people are having out there on the road. And the reason why we're going over that is because what I would suggest to you is, and I think most of us know this, is that when one person's having an issue, it's usually not just one person. It's usually multiple people. It's usually a good amount of people. Problems are meant to be rectified. I tell everybody in the interview process, I always tell people, we're concerned about numbers. Of course we are. We're concerned about numbers to the point where we want people trying to get better, right? If people are making positive changes that are making them more successful, or they're working on themselves, then that's what we want. That's what we're going for. If someone's struggling out there, but they're trying to get better, they're trying as hard as they can to do whatever they can do to get better, then we have no problem with it. That's never an issue for us. The issue is always when someone is not trying or not making strides, not trying to make changes in what they're doing. Now, how can this be helpful to all of you? Well, there's only so many days of the week. There's only so much time in each day. This week so far, I've been able to work with to any level. I'm not going to count Christian because I work with him for like a couple houses, but Kyle for a few houses, but we get some good information from them. I was with Jacob and Cole, and then I was with Jones and Spencer, and then I will be with Dawson and Seth. And on that day too, I will stop out and see Logan for a little bit. So I'll be able to work with a good amount of people, get enough information to be able to go, okay, cool. This is something that we can improve on. This is something that we can improve on. But it's going to be tough to go, all right, let's work with every single person. Let's put it this way. None of us have the time for that to be the thing that gets you on the right path or something like that. That's why this information can be so useful to you, because I guarantee you, you might not even know it. There's going to be information that we go over today, that issues that you are having, that other people are having, issues that you might know that you might not know. If you work on correcting all of these things, then I guarantee you for sure, if you do have a problem with it, it will be fixed. It will be fixed. But it's about making that positive change, those positive steps. You have to be able to look at yourself. I remember working with Josh. I've worked with Josh twice, right, Josh? And I remember the first time working with Josh, we had set one that day. I was only with him for like an hour or so. And I don't know if you must remember this, Josh. We talked to somebody first. Guy had a Penn State thing and whatnot. Guy was super nice. We didn't set him up for an appointment. But after we left that house, Josh was like, oh, man, I see what I'm doing wrong. I see what I need to do differently. I need to have more fun. I need to be more personable. I need to enjoy things more. And that's what made positive change. That day he got a number of leads. This month he has almost 100 set appointments for the month. And they're not canceling at some ridiculously high rate either. He has a good cancellation rate for the amount of leads that he has. This guy is making thousands of dollars a week. It's not a joke where he's at. I bring him up because he hasn't been here for a super long time. He started, a month before we went back to canvassing or something like that. He hasn't been here for a super long time. A lot of you guys that have started more recently can resonate more to the amount of time that he's been here than some people that have been here for a long time. So I bring him up as someone that I think is really important right now to our numbers, but also to our staff, and to, proving what we can do because of what he's accomplished so far in his time here. And what would change? It's not, we didn't go over a ton of different things. Oh, you need to work on this. There was very few things you need to work on. The biggest thing that changed was attitude and consistency and attitude, having fun with the customers. That was the biggest thing that changed. That seemingly small thing, that thing that's not difficult to do once you grasp a hold of it, he's kept that. That's the difference. He's kept that. When he's had a bad day, the next day he's gone out and had a record day. And that's what's made him truly successful at this job. Right now, we're sitting well over $1 million in sales, for the month. We're at like 1.4 or $1.5 million in total sales for the month. Okay. So far this month, Josh, just as an example, has set 94 appointments. He has an 87% demo rate and a 37% sales close rate, with well over $100,000 in sales. Okay. So it shows what you can do. He does have 2 appointments with a 0% cancellation rate, 100% demo rate on the other section too, and another sale as well for 10 grand too. Okay. So that it just shows you what, if you strive to make changes. Josh didn't do that for anybody but himself. He wanted to make himself and his family's life better. And that's why he made those positive changes, showed the effort, put in the time, a significant amount of time to get himself better. And now it's been consistency ever since. And I don't want to jinx it, Josh, but so knock on wood, but you've done a fantastic job with creating that consistency in what you're doing. Okay, so diving into some of these problems here. I haven't divided the problems by, what they are, window problems, rebuttals and stuff like that. I'm not going to do that. We're going to go through an assorted list of different things. Take notes, and we are going to have questions at the end of each of these things. Whoever can answer these questions on Monday that we will have a contest for the people that can answer these questions on Monday, all of these questions on Monday. Okay, so make sure we're going to stop every once in a while and we're going to go through and I'll ask you a question that has to do with the problem that is, and I'll give you the answer as well. Tuesday, I mean, yep. Anytime I say Monday, just assume I mean Tuesday. It's going to keep happening. I'll probably be here, but I'll show up Monday. That's what's going to happen. I'll show up Monday and I'll be like, oh, fuck. I didn't realize that we're off today. Yes, I mean Tuesday. No matter how many times I say Monday over the next couple days, I mean Tuesday. All right, so first problem here. Singling out windows of interest, windows that have problems, and focusing in on those windows that have the issues, right? Now, I'm all about the best thing that you can do for a sales rep, the best thing that you can do for the company, the best thing that you can do for the customer is no doubt set an appointment for the entire house. Of course, that's great. That's fantastic. That's what you ultimately want to do, right? But you can do that still while focusing in on 1 or 2 or 5 windows, the windows that are of biggest concern. Why would you do this? Why would you focus in on those windows? Well, because first of all, if there's visible problems, okay, that's how you make a problem. Look, think about it, making a problem bigger, right? You're focusing in on just that, on that issue, on that window. That becomes the only thing in their mind. It's a significant issue. If you can focus in on that one window, they might look at their 20 windows and go, well, my windows are good, but this one window is terrible. That's what I'm focusing in on. That one window that's terrible, or that 3 windows that are terrible, or whatever. The windows that I can see that are like visibly terrible, worse than the others. Focus in on that if you have that there. Now, you might walk up to a house where everything looks bad. Everything looks equally bad and stuff like that. I've seen that for sure. Absolutely. Right. And then your conversation can determine that. If the person says, yeah, my kitchen window's been really, really bad, great. Well, then you should focus in on that kitchen window. And again, you don't ignore everything else, but you focus in on that problem. So for this example, I'm going to use bigger windows, big bay window, picture a big bay window or a specialty window. One thing that I like to focus in on is if you've ever walked up to a house, and I know Josh and I have seen this. I know I've been on the road with a lot of people that have seen this, but that specifically, I remember, you might remember this person wasn't a customer. We're talking to the son of the homeowner, but giant window above a door that was completely terrible. I mean, fog in the glass, the material was oxidizing significantly, all the powder everywhere kind of dripping down the house. All the other windows, they weren't good. They weren't good windows, but that one looked way worse than every other one. And it makes sense because that one has a lot of glass in it, right? You remember that, Josh?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Lot of glass in it where the sales can break easy and the fog starts to go. So we were talking to, again, the son of the homeowner. So it wasn't going to be a set appointment, but even the son of the homeowner who doesn't probably care about the windows at all knew what was up. Like he knew what was up with that window because it was so evidently clear what was going on. Window had fog, window had all kinds of problems. Singling out that window, for example, it focuses the customer. I remember this, another good example of a lead that we did set with a guy back over in a year or so ago, back over in NOLA. This guy had the same thing, giant, big specialty window up top, on top of the door. And his big thing was, no, my kids go to Penn State. I'm paying for their college. Can't pay for this right now. That was his big deal. Windows are fine. Had Andersons throughout the house except for that window. Immediately I point out, I'm like, yes, sir, absolutely. 2 kids in college. I'm sure you don't want to do windows. This one right here that looks awful, but you're probably losing most of the energy efficiency that you're losing out of that window right there. He's like, I know, I think it's real hot, man, when the sun shines down. I'm just going to put tint film up there. I'm like a car tint film, sir? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, sir, first of all, how are you going to get on a ladder and do that? That's a big window. It's a big ass window. I said, but that's not going to help you with this problem, man. I mean, that's only going to make your house look stupid, quite frankly. You have a beautiful house, that's going to make it look stupid, right? And it's not like he's not birthing this tint film and then putting it up there and having a ceremony for it. It's not like he's emotionally connected to it, okay? He's not building a shrine to his shitty window by throwing a tint film up on it. So it's fine to tell him that's going to make your house look terrible. That's not going to look good at all. Let's just come and look at that window, sir. These other ones, at least they're older, but at least they're Anderson. That one's not. That one's awful. It's not. They know that they're not emotionally attached to these things. except for the door that Cole brought up the other day when that lady was like, I love my door.
I know.
That was so funny.
As soon as I went in, she said, I love it. I was like, yeah, no, it's a beautiful door.
Guy custom made a door, and it was a beautiful door, but it was rotting out at the bottom. I mean, it was 35 years old. Yeah. Yep. Old wood. Yeah. Warped up and everything. But Cole pointed out, and the lady's like, I love my door. I love my door. That's different. Her husband made it by hand, or customized it by hand, I should say. Doesn't typically happen. Not a typical thing. Glued it onto a steel door. It came out good though.
Yeah, I'm surprised it blew up.
It held up really well. So let's say that I have, for example, a bay window, okay, that is rotted out, a 3-pane bay window with one bigger one in the middle. You know how a bay window works, whatever, double hungs on the sides, okay? And let's say, for example, that window's rotting. Let's say that it's off kilter. The sashes are off kilter, so there's holes allowing air to flow through. It's single pane or double pane that has condensation. That's what I should be focusing in on right there. You know, why did you replace all these windows but not that one, right? Focus in on that issue and have a conversation with that issue. It's going to lessen the burden on the customer. It focuses your conversation, and it makes the window conversation easier because you're not having to jump around to 10 different places. You're able to focus, right? And it doesn't sound scripted. One of the biggest thing I've noticed over the last couple of days is scripted window conversations. Okay. Well, what you having more drafts here or there? Are you which windows are hard to open and close? What in a very, very basic, just elementary conversations about window problems, where going in depth might be more appropriate. Yeah, I noticed this problem. That seems pretty simple. How long would you start to notice that? Wow, you lived in the home for that long? That's amazing. So you don't open that window much. Well, that's good. At least you don't have to deal with that. I can see here though that the lock looks busted, right? Whatever. Go into that one window. Dive into that one window. Don't well, hey, there's a lot of drafts in your neighborhood. Do you have drafts? Get rid of that stuff. Get rid of the stuff. Of course, the yes or no's, but get rid of the it might have happened in the neighborhood. Maybe this is happening here, there, or everywhere. It makes you look like you don't know what you're talking about, and it's going to make the customer take advantage of that. The customer is going to take advantage of that. Keep getting calls from this 814 number. Just make sure that this is not someone I talk to. It's an interview for Carson. Let me just send this over to him real quick. Sorry, guys, just gonna text Carson quick. All right. So the second thing I have down here is listen to the customer, understand what the customer is saying. And this is something that grows over time. Your ability to be able to do this grows over time, no doubt. But it doesn't take a long time. It grows over a matter of days, not a matter of weeks or a matter of months. It grows over a matter of days. Remember, this is why we hired you guys. When you break everything down, when we hired you, we didn't think, well, this guy's going to have a script down, this and that. He's going to be, we don't know. We don't know how much time and effort you're going to put into learning a script. We don't know how much time and effort you're going to put into window problems. What we do know when we hire you is your emotional intelligence, your ability to be able to have a conversation with the customer that transcends just the script. Okay. Now, one of the biggest things here is not buying into a customer's objections. If a customer is saying no, not necessarily always rebuttaling them. Okay. And understanding what that customer is saying when they say no. So, for example, if I'm talking to that customer that has that one window that I'm now focusing in on, that's the biggest window that they have to do. And they say, well, yeah, I did everything else, but that one's too expensive, right? That's the example I'm talking about right here. An example of one of the houses that we ran into. Everything is new. I did everything else over. That one's too expensive. You're not asking them why. You're not saying why. Keep in mind, if you ask them why they didn't do this one, well, yeah, that makes sense that they say that. If they say that, they're preemptively giving you an objection. They're preemptively trying to, they're giving you a window into what's to come. Okay. Understand that. Don't get afraid of it. Embrace that. They're doing you a big benefit. They're doing you a huge favor by giving you that insight. Okay, this is going to be that person's excuse. They're probably going to start to do the can't afford it. So they're going to start to do the no, we're not really thinking about that window right now. That's what their whole thing is going to be. Even if you're asking that question, same thing. Yeah, we did all the other ones. They're trying to point out they're doing them already. Okay. Now, in this specific example, the other ones were not new either. I would consider a new window less than 5 years old, right? That's what I consider a new window. So the other ones are probably 10 years old, maybe slightly less or slightly over that. Okay. But that makes the point even bigger. If they did the other ones 8 or 10 years ago and they never did this one here, okay, that tells you something. That tells you what they're thinking. It gives you a window into what they're thinking. So, for example, you could say something like this. Well, yeah, a lot of companies don't specialize in work like this. A lot of companies avoid work like this. And a lot do, by the way, too. You'll hear this from customers all the time. I talked to 5 companies. Everyone said they wouldn't do this, right? And it's something that we can do because of the size or because of the custom nature of the product or something like that. Okay, so a lot of companies don't specialize in work like this. We do. We specialize in custom work like this. Every window that we build is custom made. Now, have you ever gotten a quote from us before? The answer is going to be no. Okay, well, can I just make a suggestion to you? We have one of our phone come out to see if we can do what needs to be done here and find out what you want if it can't be a service to you. Okay, we're going to talk about emotional intelligence peppered in as we go through these notes for several different people, because this is something that is such it's such a significant thing that I think that the biggest reason why you want to do this, you're winning a mind game. It's the fun part of the job. The fun part of the job is being able to leverage these muscles that you don't work at other times in your life. Being able to work these muscles, probably the only muscle I have on my body, right? That's the only muscle I have in my body. To leverage that muscle is beneficial to you. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to make your day go by easier. It's going to make it more fun. It's going to make you more successful. Okay. So we're going to go over that over and over again with different examples as we go through. Okay. I'll get back to that. What is a new window is a question that I've been asked a couple times over the last couple of days. To give you kind of a further answer on that, a new window is really, it's up to you a lot of times what a new window is. If the person has problems with the windows, it's not new. Okay. One thing that I think people struggle with when they first start is pulling problems out of windows that look like they might be newer. Okay. And this shows up every time I work with someone. A lot of times it shows up people that have been here for a long time, because it is hard sometimes. If you go up to a house and the windows are genuinely 5 years old or 10 years old, sometimes it can be tough. Well, it doesn't really look like there's anything significant here. Okay. Keep in mind, a lot of the window problems that exist, we can't see. Okay. We can't see, but we can see small bits of evidence that lead up to this. You know, I was telling somebody earlier about a movie. You guys would love this movie, by the way. Knives Out. Have you guys seen that? Yeah, I just watching last night. I was getting tattooed. I never seen it before. I got to finish it. I didn't finish it, so tell me what happens. I didn't finish it. I'm right after they just somebody burnt. She just found the body of that girl, that lady that was dying right there in the shop there. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I gotta finish that tonight. Knives Out, though, great movie. I forget where I was going with that. Yes, the little pieces that lead up to it. So this is, if you haven't seen this before, it's like Clue. It's like the movie Clue or the game Clue or whatever. There's a detective played by Daniel Craig, whatever. Craig, okay. And James Bond. And he's trying to solve this case. I don't really know his motives yet, but he's trying to solve this case. Almost like he's writing a book, which might be the second one. I don't know. Maybe. Mystery. I got to finish this movie. But he finds these little tiny things, these little crumbs, that little bit of mud that's left in the floor up in the upstairs and whatnot. He finds these little things, and you know some of what's going on, but he doesn't. And you know you're looking from his perspective. And he's finding these little crumbs, and those are leading up to these bigger pieces of evidence that he'll eventually find. And you know that, right? You are that character out there. You're finding the little crumbs that lead up to those bigger problems. Most customers, they don't know you. By the way, here's a cool thing that's going to be happening over the next couple weeks. We're going to have a system that sends out a text alert to the neighborhood that we go to saying, hey, if you see X and Y out there, then make sure you say hi to them. They got a $500 gift card for you or whatever. Yep. And then, yeah, yep. So that'll be really cool. So we'll see how that works. Oh, they did. Okay. Cool. That's kind of cool from the township. This will be more like an advertisement, go straight to their phone, like a text message to their phone. Yeah, yep, yep. So we'll give that a try. So that's a neat thing. Now, what'll happen is because of the fact that we don't know exactly who's going to be in every single neighborhood, they'll probably put like my name on there or something like that. And then you would just say, oh no, that's my associate actually working right over here on this street. My name's X and Y, but yes, I'm with Renewal by Ads and I can help you out this and that. We got to figure out the details, but over the next 2 weeks, that'll be something that we try out a couple times, see how that works. That'll be pretty cool though. So if you pick up these little clues, guys, that the customer gives you, those lead up to the bigger problems. So for example, if I knock on someone's door, always remember this, Joe, I've said this a couple times over the last couple of days. Older people, guys, if you ask my mother's not an old lady. She's at, early 60s or late 50s. I have no idea, something like that. You ask my mother, I'm still a kid, right? I'm oh yeah, my kid. Oh yeah, he's so young, this and that or whatever, right? If you ask me, my kids to me are younger. They're 6 and 9 years old. They're much younger. My mother still probably thinks of me. Let's put it this way, right? My kids are closer to my age than I am to my mother's age at this point, I think, right? That would make sense, something like that. Point is that older people determine time much differently. I can only imagine, right? New to them is different than new to you, right? And new to an older person is different than new to me because their life has been much longer. So 10 years is a long time for Windows. It's for them, they just replaced them yesterday, So understand that too. But even for new homeowners, all the time, you'll have run into this before. Guy comes out, yeah, no, I just moved in 3 months ago. They already replaced the windows. Yeah, they replaced them 10 years ago. The people told them, the ad that they saw for the house on Zillow said replacement vinyl windows. And from that piece of information, they're saying that they have new windows. You can't let that go. You can't let that go. Okay. Do you know how old the windows are exactly? No, but I know that they're pretty new. Okay, well, the reason why I ask, what indicates to me, these are probably about 10 years old. The reason why I tell you that, the reason why I ask is because I noticed some discoloration in the product here. These are supposed to be white. You can see there's yellowing around all the edges of the windows and whatnot. That's from discoloration because of the sun. You're probably familiar with oxidation as a problem, right? That's what's happened to these windows here. The same thing that will happen to your cheap white plastic lawn furniture that you have in your backyard if you have it. Most people have had it in their life. So wipe your finger across that, you can get powdery substance on it. That's because the windows are oxidized, right? These problems, now think about that, guys. What's a more severe problem? A slight draft in one window or the fact that their windows are deteriorating and rotting, essentially, right? That equates to rotting in a wood window. It's the same problem. It's just the way that plastic rots, okay? And when you look up the things that lead to this polymer degradation, right? It is heat, it is light, it is acids in the rains. Everything that causes that is stuff that we experience up here in the Northeast. Now, you might have noticed a lot of broken windows over the last couple of days too. I don't know about you guys, but we saw when I was with Jones and Spencer, like 4 broken windows. Cole said he saw a bunch of them. It's because the temperature changes. Things like glass impaction, guys, that's the best example. You can tell people we've seen a ton of broken windows over the last couple of days. Why? Because the same problem you have here, Mr. Jones. Because your glass is impacted. You can see the waving in the glass of the windows, sir. Very significant problem that a lot of people don't even know about, sir, right? Those are the things that are going to lead you to the bigger issues, right? The weep holes. Well, so you probably don't even notice this because most people don't. You see these 2 holes at the bottom of every one of your windows? It's like a taser. Yeah. Oh, I saw that. Yeah, the little toys. Yeah. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. Like the party favors. Yeah. Oh shit. So the I focus on like the weep holes, for example. Let's say that there's mold in the weep holes. Okay. Let's say that they don't even need to be mold there. Let's say, for example, the weep holes exist, then it allows me to be able to explain what can happen from those weep holes existing, right? Those little problems, guys, lead up to the bigger stuff. So before you go straight to how many do you have left to replace, okay, or how old is your doors, go after those problems. Identify those issues. At worst, the windows are 2 years old and you're going to look kind of like an asshole. At worst. I'll tell you what, you're at much more risk of looking like an asshole if the windows are 12 years old and you're saying, oh, yeah, they look pretty new. They look like they're brand new, right? So don't worry about that so much. Levi, by the way, I got my Kirkle stuff in, so I'm pretty happy about that. Pumped. It should be Kirkle. If I had a company and I spelt it Cirkul, that's Kirkle. Kirkle, right? That doesn't spell circle at all. Not even close.
Listen, man, if you can't pronounce something phonetically,
Really
I
bad
don't
at
know how to
spelling.
help you.
That's what it is. They must be German or something like that. That's gonna drive me insane, that little clacky noise. Next time someone does that, can you go out there and tell them to stop? Yeah. Have a system for new windows, guys. When you do realize that new windows are new, and they are for sure new. What's up, Kev? How you doing? When they are for sure new. That was weird. It's gonna happen now. It's just gonna be interruption after interruption. Have a system for it. The windows are new. You know they're new. They're absolutely new. It's not a question. They definitely are new. Okay. How many do you have left to replace? Right. Okay. And how many do you have left to replace it? Right. Most people do their windows in stages, Mr. Jones. What stage are you on? How many windows do you have left to replace? None. I did all of them. Yep, they're all done. Finished my last ones last year. Well, that's good. That's really good for you then. Now I'm guessing because most of your neighbors have patio doors, you probably have a patio door as well. Is that a sliding glass door or a French door? Oh, it's a sliding glass door. Okay, and how old is that? Well, that's actually a little bit older. That's brand new, right? You another question you could ask there, by the way, too, is okay, and what material is that? Think about that question right there. And what's the material in that door? That's giving you the information without you having to concede time. You can't see the door. If they say aluminum, then it's definitely an older door. It's not a newer door. If they say that it's wood and you know that they just replaced everything with vinyl, okay, so it must be original then, Mr. Jones, right? Okay, and go to the front door too. If you see visual problems with the front door, bring that up before you bring up the patio door. If you bring it up before you bring up the windows if it's that bad. But if it's not that bad, then you just ask. Okay, well, before I go, one thing that we do here at this company, most renewable energy don't do, is we do front doors. Now, your front door here, how old is this door? Or if you notice some wear and tear on it, I wanted to point out. So I noticed that there was some paint peeling off. This has to be a little bit older than the windows, I'm guessing. Don't ask yes or no questions. Do you have any windows left? How are your doors doing? Don't ask any yes or no questions like that. Okay. Next thing that training point that I want to bring up. I'm going to ask my first question. Okay, about those. I'm going to ask two questions now because I kind of missed one. See, my first question is going to be from what we've gone over. If the customer, okay, so, all right, I'll ask this question. This is good. All right. At what point should a lead become a callback? At what point should a lead become a callback? Okay. And I'm going to give you the answers again. At what point should a lead become a callback? I know we didn't talk about that yet, but that's why I'm going through this. This is my way of going through this. I was going to go through it eventually. It's my way of going through this. Okay. A lead should become a callback. When something screws up with the appointment, like a one-party situation that you can't get over, something that would make it a bad appointment comes up and you can't get over it. There's no way you can get over it. Yeah, no, I can set aside 15 minutes. That's it. I'm not doing any more than that. That becomes a callback at some point. You push it, you fight for it, it becomes a callback. So after the answer there, the easy answer would be after you fought for it, problem appointments. Okay, after you fought for problem appointments. The second answer is after you've gone through all your rebuttals and they've continued to object. So once the appointment is completely done, you've gone through all of your rebuttals. One common thing that I've seen working with people that have been here for a little bit, not for a super long time, is the quickness that they go to a callback, okay, or to leave a house for that matter. All right, and it goes something like this, you know, yeah, no, I don't know when my schedule is going to work out. Why don't you give me a call back next week and I can tell you? Well, you know, we do come out mornings, afternoons, and evenings. What would typically work best for you? You just call me back next week. I got to talk to my husband about this. Just call me back next week. Well, we can come out on weekends. What works best for you? Saturday or Sunday? No, just give me a call back next week. Okay, we'll give you a call back. You're not fighting for it appropriately there, right? In a situation like that, how I would do that. First of all, you try to end that right away when it comes up, right? So, well, you know, look, give me a call back next week. This week's really busy. I got to talk to my husband about it. I think that's what I said for the first one, right? Something like that. I think the first one is just give me a call back next week. Okay. Explain the benefits of what we do. Well, you know, look, Mr. Jones, because we're here right now, because we're out visiting Mr. Smith over on 123 Main Street, we're actually going to be out seeing your neighbor, Mr. Jones, right down the 3 houses down on Saturday. It's a lot easier for us when we're in the neighborhood to come see you. Okay. That being said, we do come out mornings, afternoons, and evenings. What typically works best for you? Okay. Or that being said, we do have a lot of different times available. What time are you typically home? Or even better one, that being said, we do have a lot of different times available over the next day or so. I'm guessing that whatever time you're in right now, I'm guessing that 4 p.m. works typically best for you. Okay. Now you're not going to set up a 4 p.m., but they're home at 4 p.m. You mentioned 4 p.m. and then you change it to a 6, right? You change it to a 5:30, you change it to a 6:30, right? But you get that commitment right there. That's when they're typically home. Yeah, no, but look, I really want to talk to my wife about it. I don't know her schedule. So, you know, oh, okay, cool. What does she do for work? You know, well, she works in nursing. So it's real tough sometimes. It fluctuates, differences in schedule and whatnot. Okay. Is she home right now? No. She's at work right now. She's at work right now. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I know that kind of schedule can be wild, but I do know when we're going to be out over the next couple of days. What time does she typically get home from work? I don't even know. I don't even know. Go for the same day if you can. What time will she be home tonight? Yeah, like 7. Okay. We do actually probably have a representative out here again because we are finishing up that job for Mr. Jones. Let me get on the phone and check that for you. Okay. Call the call center. See if they have a same day available. You know, if you can't get that, what time will she get home tomorrow? Okay. What's typically the day that you have off together? You could say something like this, for example. Yeah, you know, it's real tough for me in my relationship too. I typically don't get home till real late. I really see my wife for like an hour during the night. It's tough, or my girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever for like an hour during the night. It's tough. But we do typically have Sundays off together. Most of the time we have 1 day a week off. What is that day for you? Right? Ask a question like that. What is that day for you? Fight for the appointment first. Now, if they no, I'll tell you what. How about you just do it for me? You know, at some point, there's nothing you can do. At some point, yes, go for a callback, but that point has to be pretty far in. I can tell you like this, right? If I can go on ground force right now, I can check knock times, right? If that appointment becomes a callback, unless they're leaving the driveway or something like that, you should have been there for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. I mean, a good amount of time. You should have been there for a good, serious amount of time before that lead becomes a callback. So that's what I would gauge if I was you. Is I would look and I go, did I say everything that I could say there? Okay. All right. So that's the first question. The second question I'm going to give right after I go through this next one last thing here from one of the sheets I have here in front of me. Acknowledge people's objections. Extremely important. Okay. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm a big advocate of not rebuttaling when you don't have to. Why? Because it makes it so much easier for you. It makes it easier for the customer. It's easier to move on. It feels better. You get more done. You're there for, at the house for a longer period of time. It's more productive. I mean, whatever, any reason, rebuttals are fantastic after you've already not rebutted, right? Like if you can get, here's the gauge for you. Don't rebuttal until you get past the value of the visit. Try that. On Saturday, try to make that your goal for every single house. First of all, you should only lose before the value of the visit once or twice a day, per day. If you're getting a ton of objections in the beginning and you're losing before or after, up until after the value of the visit, when you've said, I have your last name as Jones, what's your first? That part, you should get to like 95 times out of 100. You know, most houses you go to that you talk to somebody, you should get there. And if you're not, then that's when we have to focus on, okay, how do we get over that hump? That should be your first mission, by the way, too. Your first mission should be to get to that part, not even to set the appointment, because if you do that enough times, you're going to get enough appointments per day, right? If my goal is 4 a day, because I bet I was here pre-pandemic and stuff like that, or because I've shown that I can do that, I'm going to win 4 times. If I'm doing that at 10 houses a day, 4 of those I'm going to win. Absolutely. But if I'm losing early, why? Why am I losing early? One of the biggest things is because I'm not acknowledging objections. I sound like an asshole because I'm not acknowledging objections. Okay. Now, what does it mean to acknowledge an objection? All right. So, and this is something that had come up, and this is what I'd say. If you feel like you're being aggressive out there, or like you have some sort of edge or something like that, and it like it's negatively affecting you, this is probably your solution. This is going to make you better. This is going to make it easier for you. That's what I had written down here in the notes for somebody. One of the most important things, when a customer says no, the person that I was talking to here, and a lot of people I've worked with, just ignores it, moves on. You want to acknowledge it. You just don't want to focus in on it. It doesn't need to become everything that you talk about. So the customer says, nope, not interested. Of course, sir, before I go, I just wanted to let you know we're finishing up a job. You're acknowledging that. You don't just go, okay, well, we're just finishing up a job, right? So how did it go the other day when I was working with this person? And what I'll give you a couple examples of a couple houses like this. Customer says, no, I'm good on Windows. I'm really good on Windows. Okay. Well, I just want to let you know that we were doing a job for Mr. Jones right down the street here. That was one of them. Okay. Customer says, yeah, no, not going to be doing anything right now. I'm in the middle of mowing my lawn. Okay, sir. Well, I just want to let you know that we're doing a job for Mr. Jones on the street. You're not acknowledging what they're saying. Yeah, well, I don't want to get in the way of that, sir. I promise you I'll only take a second. Continue on, right? Acknowledge what they're saying. Okay, here's another good example. Let's say the person says, no, my windows are fine. Well, it looks like you've done a lot of work with the home, Mr. Jones. And that's great. I just want to point out one thing I noticed right here. Boom. Okay. Don't just say, okay, well, I want to show you this problem right here. No. Yeah, it looks like you've done a lot of great work with the house, Mr. Jones. I just want to point out, right? You're acknowledging what they're saying. Okay. So this is another example that I've written down here. Customer says, no, I've done some of my windows already. Person says, okay, I did notice that you had this problem in this window. Okay. Acknowledge that you know they've done some. Okay, great. How long ago did you do those windows? Hey, Levi, how you doing? It's weird. It shows you you're still logged in. Well, I appreciate that. So that's great, sir. How long ago did you do that? That's how you can acknowledge that problem. Okay. Spencer, you look pretty wild right now, man. Dude's got a hood on with his hat on. He looks you cold?
Wild?
Hold on, I can't hear you. You cold?
Not really. A little. Actually, it was a little chilly this morning.
I like it, man. I like it.
Hey,
You
thank
got your vaccine this morning?
Yeah.
So they didn't have. I told you guys Johnson & Johnson or Pfizer, and then you guys get there and they only have Moderna. Not my fault. I was told that. Are you kidding me? I didn't even know they were doing it tomorrow. Oh, okay, okay. In the parking lot they're doing it. Okay. Yeah, I was told today they'd have those 2 ones. Well, that's okay. Just make sure you get the second one. You already went halfway through with it. Might as well. So that's one of the biggest things, guys. And that's, by the way, something if you could examine your script and pitch, and there's one thing that you can adapt and take out of this, one thing, this would be the one, right? Is acknowledge the customer's objections, but don't rebuttal. Those 2 things together. Okay. So that's going to be my second question for when I go over these questions on Monday is, what is the one biggest thing, or I should say the first biggest thing, 'cause I might say that twice. A lot of times I say that 3 times. So what is the first biggest thing? Okay. And the first biggest thing, you're writing down these questions, right, Jones? Okay. I don't want to forget them. So the first biggest thing would be acknowledge the objections, but don't rebuttal. Okay. Acknowledge the objections and move on. So to put that into script context, knock on the door. Hey, what's going on? Well, good afternoon, sir. My name is Paul Duffy. Mr. Jones? Yeah, why? What's up? Well, Mr. Jones, I'm with Renewal by Anderson. We just did some work for Mrs. Smith right over. I'm not interested right now. I'm not doing anything with my windows, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's okay, sir. I appreciate it. I don't know what I was just gonna go. I'm playing customer still. That's okay, sir. I just wanted to let you know while I was in the area that we were finishing up a job for your neighbor, Mrs. Smith, right down the street. The reason why I'm here, no, I'm not interested. Okay, sir, that's okay. The reason why I'm here, though, is just because I noticed you had the same original windows that they had as well. Looked like you were experiencing some rotting issues in them. Look, man, I already did some of my windows. I'm not going to be doing any windows anytime soon. Yeah, and it looks like you've done a lot of work with your home, sir. It looks beautiful. I did notice, like I mentioned, though, that this window right here was rotting pretty significantly. How long ago did you start to notice that? Okay, how long ago did you start to notice that? So that would be an example of how you kind of move through the script in that way. Okay, it's tough to play customer in Canvasser, but I suggest that you get good at it because it can be helpful when you do that. Typically, I mean, when I'm doing that in training every single week, it's easy to get good at that. It's easy to get good at that. One of the best practice you could have, though, is working with yourself, because you can be your harshest critic. You know, you can give yourself the most objections, right? You can focus on your individual struggles. And what I would suggest, guys, is another thing, and I would do this on the teams too, guys, because we were talking earlier, team wide. Okay, how do we get to our goals and whatnot? Well, this is something you can do on your teams as well, as make partners, make groups, make people accountable for each other, right? If people want to volunteer, for example, to come in, I'll pay them for it. They're not really volunteering, but to come in a half hour early, to come in at 11:30, and to be productive with their time. One of the biggest benefits we used to have is we used to have a manager go down to the showroom and observe people pitching back and forth for, an hour every day almost. People would come in voluntarily, not clocking in, and do that. I'm willing to pay for a half hour to go do that. Absolutely. Partner up with somebody, though, that gets to know your problems, that gets to know your issues. Sit down with, this is for managers, sit down with your guys and figure out, especially if you go through all these notes and stuff like that, what issue people have. Let somebody know. If I'm pitching with Jones, well, let's say Jones has struggles with identifying issues in vinyl windows, and then let's focus on that. And let's say I struggle with giving up too early on customers. Well, let's focus on that for me. You to rebuttal me more, right? Not a bad idea to go with. Okay. Okay. Don't give up on appointments, guys. And this is something that nobody will admit to doing, because I don't think anybody does this willingly, like knows that they're doing it. This was one house that I was with for somebody. I typically wouldn't mention something if it came up one time. But I know for people that are newer, definitely this can be an issue, definitely. And it's giving up at weird times, giving up at times that are completely inappropriate to give up at. In this example, the homeowner had said he had done some windows a year ago, and the windows, when we went there, they did look new. They looked like they were brand new. The whole house looked new, but I knew it wasn't, just because you see the age on the thing. And the guy had said he was there for a good period of time. The windows looked like they were new, though. The person I was with said, okay, well, essentially, how about the doors? Or how old are your doors? The guy said, well, that's the only one I didn't do, and pointed at the front door. And the person at the door was like, okay, well, it looks like there's not anything we could do for you, so I appreciate your time. Prime stuff, is giving you the stuff. But it happens all the time, guys. I see people give up at inappropriate times all the time. They feel a certain amount of pressure. And look, it can happen. The guy who did that is one of our best guys. One of our best guys. So it can happen to anybody. It's happened to me. As a matter of fact, when I was with Spencer and Jones the other day, I brought this up yesterday in the meeting, but I went to a house talking to a guy. And I don't know what, I rebutted the guy, but I don't know what it was. I get past the second rebuttal and I gave up. And I said right when I left, I gave up too early on that. Do I think I would have said it? No. Does it matter if I think I would have said it? No, because I don't know. You never know. I could have said that one thing. I'll give you a good example. What the guy said to me and what I gave up on is dumbest thing in the world, something I rebuttal all the time, is I'm going to be leaving the house probably in a couple of years. Now, it was his third objection, I think it was, but it was the best objection to not, that's the best objection to go after. I know that problem. Well, that's great, sir. Where are you going to move to? Where are you thinking about moving to? I haven't really thought about it yet, but it will come eventually. Okay. Yeah, and it looks like you've kept up your house pretty well, sir, but this window here or these windows here, this specific example, there was 2 windows on the side that were warping pretty severely. These 2 windows, most of these windows, sir, they look like they could pass some sort of inspection. Those windows over there are not going to pass any kind of inspection. They look awful. I mean, you said it yourself, so they look awful. So I'm not proposing that you do any work here or anything like that. What I am proposing is that you have somebody come out, take a look, see if we could do what would need to be done here, even find out what you like and so on and so forth, right? That's an example of what I could have said there. And I know that. I've been here for 12 years, but I didn't say it, right? What if that was a 1 appointment that day? Or what if that was the difference between 3 and 4 and I would have hit my goal or not hit my goal? That's what I'm giving up. What if that was the difference, scratch that, in 10 demos and 11 demos for the week? That's a $250 or so difference because I did not say 2 lines, right? And that's where it's important. And I think, if you can point out the issues in yourself, I have this guy, I've told you guys about him before, this guy that worked with me down in Philadelphia, who never could admit his fault in anything. And it didn't have anything to do with me. It's not like it was like, you're at fault and I'm not. It was with his own team. He was always in opposition with his guys because he would never admit when he was wrong to them. And he thought it made him look weak. And what I said to him was, I got 2 people at the door with me. I didn't say this to him because that would have been weird if I knew 5-10 years from now what would happen. But I'll give this example. I got 2 guys at the door with me. Jones knows what he's doing. Spencer knows what he's doing. When I do that, if I left that house and tried to convince them that I didn't fuck it up, what does that say about me? What does it say about me? I would hope they'd be like in their heads, this guy's an idiot. Is that what he wants us to do? No. It's better that I pointed out what happens when they go to a door and they go, I'm going to do what he did. He didn't rebuttal that. Why would I not rebuttal that? Why would I rebuttal that? No, you set an example by everybody has their issues by fixing them and by presenting them in a way, again, admitting fault for them. Now, one thing that I see a lot of people struggle with, and it's a small little thing, and this is also going to be my next question. What is the smallest significant thing that everybody can change today? Well, that most people can change today. Okay. And the answer to that question, what is it? It's the question is again, what is the smallest but very significant thing that most people can change right now today? No effort whatsoever. Actually, effort from the managers, assuming that if they're doing this, if they're not doing this, then definitely do it. And that will change this too. Make sure you're bringing up the actual jobs that we did in the neighborhood. Make sure you're saying we did work on this specific address for this specific person. Most significant thing you change, and memorize the name and street. Spencer and Jones were really, really good at this, by the way. They were the best I've seen at it. They knew they had it. I mean, I didn't see, there were every single house, it was the same customer's name, same street. And they knew that, 123 Perk Road, whatever it was. Okay. I'm surprised. I don't know. It was something like that. Perch or Perk, something like that. I remember it from there. What was it? Oh, Jack Road. Well, Jones remembers. It was Jack Road. It's nothing like what I said, but okay.
Mrs. Lichty on Jack Road.
Mrs. Lichty on Jack Road. Is that a real person? Did you guys make that up? Okay. Lichty is kind of a weird name. That's right. What you don't want to do, guys, is have to look back and try to decide what you're going to say and try to figure it out in front of the customer. That's going to kill time, and it's going to frustrate the customer as well. Okay. So know it offhand. When you set up a lead, they were good with that too. Know that person's name. Memorize their name. You don't even got to memorize their address. Just memorize the name and memorize where the address relatively is. Yeah, right over there, Mr. Jones. Right over there. It makes it so much easier for you to move through your script, and it's so significant, guys. Go ahead, Joseph.
When we're in like a certain area, there's multiple customers we go to work for. I always tell them, look to see if that road is close to where your map's at. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or they think you're an asshole because it's the other side of town. They're like, what? That's not even near here. Yeah. Yeah. That's, yeah. Go with the street closest to you. And, or by the way, too, if let's say it's a, you know, J Court and nobody's ever heard of it before, it's 3 houses, then use a main road nearest to you. You know, a job that we've done on a main road nearest to you. Because, like, for me, for example, I don't know the street next to me. I really don't know any street in my neighborhood. I know Flamingo Way, because who can forget that? And I don't even know if it's way, by the way. I just made it the whole way thing. It sounds like it would be, but it's probably not. It's actually probably Flamingo Road. I don't know any other street near me. Not even one. But I know Williams Grove and I know Lisburn Road. Those are 2 big street names. I know those. Everyone knows those, right? Even if they're not from around there, they know those. So it resonates well with people. And remember that the people that why is this so important? Well, because the biggest reason why it's important is in rebuttal. If that customer, whether the customer is giving you a not interested, I can't afford it, I'll do it later, I don't want to waste your time, is a big one for this. It's best to be able to say, no, you're not wasting our time, Mr. Jones. And I said this to somebody yesterday, or whenever I was up with Jones Spence 2 days ago. I literally said to the person, no, you're not wasting our time. What would waste our time is if we had to drive out here 2 hours to come see you a couple of months from now when we're not in the area. That would waste our time. This is not wasting our time or your time, because, and it's might sound like a kind of a strong way to say it. It is, but it's not like, again, I'm letting them know the truth. What's way more convenient is if we're out here seeing you now, you know, and that's going to resonate and make sense with that customer. So you can use that a lot. It also gives reason for things like $500 gift card and promotions and stuff like that. Why would you just hand me a $500 gift card? Well, because you're making it easy for us coming to see you. So we want to make this beneficial to you as well. You're making it easy for us. Here's the truth of the matter, guys, is a TV commercial is ridiculously expensive, and there's no guarantee that appointments are going to come from that, right? There's no guarantee, definitely, that sales are going to come from that. For us, it's a much more cost-effective way to market doing this than it is to invest, you know, 200 grand per week in TV commercials, you know, which we probably do as well. This is more cost-effective, us going out there and bundling up these appointments for people. Taking a sales rep, sending them out to Chambersburg and then over to Reading in a day is not cost-effective for them. It doesn't keep them in a good mindset. If they can go down to Chambersburg and spend all day in Chambersburg, that's much more beneficial for them and for our company. So if you can get that across without saying that, like I just said it to you, then that's a great way to get it across, right? So if you can say something like, you know, look, you actually, because you're saving us a lot of money, you're allowing us to come out and see you while we're going to see Mr. Jones and Mr. Smith. We pass the savings on to you. I'm in the form of this $500 gift card. Okay, something like that. Okay. Know your rebuttals too, guys. One thing that I recognized out there for a couple people was combining rebuttals, changing rebuttals, doing a quarter of a rebuttal and then kind of ending it abruptly. When you do get to the stage that you're rebuttaling, and again, like I said, I'm a big advocate for not rebuttaling if you don't have to. Move on in the script. But when you get to the point where there's nowhere to move, and now you're going back and forth about getting an appointment, okay, which again, if you're getting through the value of the visit at 90+% of your appointments, which you should be able to get to, okay, that's the time that you're rebuttaling a lot of times. Know them. Don't just talk. I see so many people that the customer will say, no, I'm not interested right now. Give me a call in a little bit or something like that. And they'll go, well, you know, I didn't expect to catch you on daily rates replacing windows, but, you know, because you have us come out now, we are able to pass these savings on to you. And we have a lot of different promotions going on right now. But the biggest thing is probably that the quote's good for a full year. And so we'll just be able to answer your questions and leave with a free price quote that's good for a full year. I have your last name as Jones. What's your first? Or even better, a lot of people, and not better, I mean, worse, a lot of people are ending it there. So it could be helpful. Well, does that sound helpful? Because they're giving the customer an out. And that's a problem that plagues teams and plagues individuals all the time. No, hard close. It's uncomfortable. Yes. It gets more and more comfortable the more you do it. You start, I have your last name as Jones. What's your first? I have your last name as Jones. What's your first? Dive right in. Okay. Don't just leave it blank because you're going to get no's every time. Here's the dangerous thing about getting no's in that way. If you're getting no's, objections based on that, what's going to happen is you're going to think that you're doing everything you could do. Fuck, I'm rebuttaling 10 times. Like I'm saying everything I can say. What more can I do to get these people to set up? But all you're doing is you're simply not closing. It's ending right there. That's a problem that plagues a lot of people. And it gives them the false impression that they're doing everything they can do. What else can I do? And that false impression is a killer, for people. Okay. We talked about not rebuttaling and stuff like that. Okay, so that's good. Point out the positives and the oddities with each house. Every house you go to, what's the fun stuff? What's the difference? What is different here that I can have a conversation about, right? And you start off with the windows. If they have some sort of different kind of window, again, the best thing for you to do is as soon as you get in view of those windows, look at those windows and build information as you get up there. By the time you get to the door, you should pretty much have, I'd say the most significant 3 or 4 problems laid out in your head. Okay, cool. This is what is going on with these windows. Okay. So that's first. After that, what's different about the house? Is there anything different in the windows? Like they have a stick holding it up or something like that. What's different about the house? Is there a beautiful garden that looks unique? We knocked on a door and we weren't talking to the homeowner, so it was tough the other day, but it was me, Spencer, and Jones. Remember that guy who had it was his mother-in-law's house, and he had the house like behind it, and he had the big garden there, giant garden. Like that was so unique. The amount of times that I said, that's an amazing, amazing garden. This is everything the guy said. It was like, oh my God, really? She had this guy build her this pavilion. Whoa, that looks great. That roof looks awesome. Everything was, but the guy, he wasn't the homeowner. The homeowner, he even told us, he's like, yeah, she ran inside when she saw you guys coming, so she's not coming out. But either way, again, how much more infused the conversation got as we were talking about that stuff. She had done a lot of work with the house, a lot of different things. You could tell these people didn't have a lot of money, but they had a lot of creativity, and they utilized that creativity. So even better, they put the work in. They did all this stuff to the house. Talk about stuff like that. Look for things like that are unique as you walk up to the door. I always have a plan of what I'm going to talk about. This specific neighborhood that we were in, or street that we were on, the view was amazing. It was cattle farms and then mountains, and it was amazing. Nothing in the way. Just boom, straight up there. People love to talk about it. That's why they bought the house. That's what they enjoyed. One guy, we didn't say, it was kind of a weirdo. His family owned all the farms right there. He had this old tractor. It was pretty interesting. It was weird the way he came out, Jones and Spencer, after that too. Like he heard us, like he was listening to us or something. It was kind of weird. Remember, he like darted out of the house once when you guys mentioned the tractor. He was already inside, door closed. Someone said, "Look at the tractor," and he was out right next to us. Oh yeah, that's a blah blah, so on and so forth. It was very bizarre. He was a math teacher too. So math teacher. Math teachers are difficult to talk to, man. I don't want to talk to a math teacher ever again. I had this math teacher when I was a kid who would get angry, and he would speak Hebrew or something every time he would get angry. And that guy was a trip, man. He was a trip. Is that a language? Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I have no idea. I just know that I knew he was Jewish. I know he said that it was somehow related to that. I just didn't know if Hebrew was the language or if it was like some sort of. Yeah, I think it was Hebrew. Yeah, because he read. I had this gum wrapper that had in Hebrew this comic on it. Remember the Bazooka Joe things? I had these ghetto ones from this store called Duffy's, ironically, that were all in Hebrew. And so he read a couple for me because I had him read them for me. Yeah. No relation to me neither. How ironic is that? They knocked it down to build condos. It was a cool place, man. They had everything. It was like a Dollar Tree before they had a Dollar Tree. It was huge though. Big warehouse. Awesome place. So obviously not awesome enough. So it would be still in business. What else can you make connections with the customer about? Don't just make it a basic conversation. What do they have? What do they like? For me, tattoos is a big thing. I like bringing up tattoos. If I see somebody with tattoos, where do you get that done? That's great. Looks awesome, right? These people love that stuff. The view, a lot of times can be great. The neighborhood, how great is the neighborhood? Did they do a lot of work on the home? One specific person we talked to was in the military, traveled a lot, got his tattoos overseas. That's a great thing to talk about. He he doesn't make it a point to like that guy, for example, the military guy. Remember this guy, Spencer? We talked to him. Jones, you were there. We didn't bring up the military thing. I had asked him about the tattoos. I said, where'd you get them done? A lot of them overseas. He kept making it a point to keep bringing up that he had been overseas. And it was clear he was trying to tell us he was in the military. Like it got to a ridiculous point where it was like he said everything, but I'm in the, oh, so you're in the military. Yeah, yep. He was very, very thrilled that we eventually brought that up, So you look for those kind of things. Does that family have one of them stars? Remember the stars, right? They have a kid in service. Is that what that's for? Or is that for when someone passes away in service? Something like that. The stars at the house? They have the little flags with the stars on them. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Jeez, all right. That was a big thing when I first started the job. There was a lot of people that had them. Hold on.
What was the thing you were talking to me about? Like, you know when you're Jewish?
Yes, the I don't know what the name of it is, but do you have a Jewish last name, don't you? Are you Jewish? Okay. Like there's a thing that goes on the side of the door. It has like the Ten Commandments or some. What is that called?
I can text my brother asking if he has one on his house. Basically, it's for when evil spirits.
That's what I said, right? Yeah. He thought I was going crazy. No.
It's kind of inspired by it, but not entirely. Like the lamp on the doorway, but what you're thinking.
He thought that I was messing with him. I wasn't messing with him. I said, that's how
Yeah, usually they're not straight up and down. They're crooked a little bit.
Yes, they're crooked. Yep, exactly. Yeah. All right. So Blue Star's Mother's a Service flag. This right here. This right here. You see that? You see those houses?
I've never once seen that. No.
During the Iraq War, it was a big thing. They were everywhere. All these people have them, but this is for mothers and mothers that have kids in service, I guess. So you point that out. You see that? That's a great thing to talk about. For example, I've met some really, really neat people. I met Steven Tyler going out to Marshfield, Massachusetts. So many people that I've met 5 at least semi-famous people on the road. Okay. And some very successful businessmen, whatever. The most interesting people that I remember most, one of them was the mother of a police officer who had been killed in duty in King of Prussia, who was hit by a person. They were on a chase. He was a motorcycle officer, and he had just died like 3 days before that. And I showed up at her house, and she was super nice. And I was having a conversation with her, and she invited me in. And you could tell that there was some emotional stuff going on, but she hadn't told me anything yet. And I saw like a shrine kind of thing, like to her son with the badge and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, ma'am. I had a bunch of pins, like memorial pins, like, we give out at a memorial. And I'm like, I'm sorry, ma'am, but do you mind if I ask who this is? And she's like, yeah, it's my son. And she just broke down crying and told me the story. And I was like, man, like, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to knock on your door at this time today. It's not an easy time for you. She's like, I know we do need windows, but this is just not the right time. Like, of course not. I'm not gonna, I was like, do you mind showing me? Because it was on display. Do you mind showing me a little bit about your son? And she brought me right over, and she showed me all this stuff and everything, and kind of told me the story of what happened and how I get the policing and how he wanted to change the world when he was getting all this stuff. And the father came out, and it was great, a great conversation. I remember that person way more. And by the way, too, just side note, eventually did set and sell too. A week later, set and bought windows eventually too. No doubt because of that interaction. What you gonna say, Cole?
I was walking on Wednesday. This guy opened the door with like 30s, 40s, man. He's on hospital, died. Like,
yeah.
All he said is like, I don't need windows.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah, man. I mean, yeah, it's terrible to see that, but you think that happens a lot, Yeah. Well, I mean, I probably would too. I mean, that's got to be a terrible time, a difficult time for somebody, So, but getting into conversations with people, again, the oddities at each house, making the real connections with the customers. It makes the job more fun. It balances it more. You want to have a day that goes by short. Have a day like that where you're running into people like that. people that are interesting people. It doesn't always need to be misery. I've met people that have won the lottery too. And that's always an interesting conversation. I met not ever like millions of dollars, but I met someone that won $400,000 at one point in the lottery, like 4 days before that. Happiest person in the fucking world. Probably blew through it all already. Interesting people, business owners, people that own restaurants. One of my favorite interactions still was the first day we were back out there. The Salvador was this guy's name. Salvatore was this guy's name. I knocked on his door and he's like, he like acts like he was going to beat the shit out of me. And he was joking and he's like, gotcha. And then Seth, you were there for a big part of it. And then I go up and see him the next week. I was bringing my kids up to the area and he owned a pizza restaurant right up there in gas station. And so I go in and he's like, you want to fight me? You want to, and he's shoving a police baton in his pants. And I'm like, what is this guy? I'm like, what is that? He's like, you want to fight? None of your business. You want to fight? He was joking. I knew he was joking, but he was like this crazy Italian dude. Love the conversation. It makes the day go by so much faster, right? On that specific day, I wanted to get the hell out of there. And we had like a 2-hour drive home. And that was, if you guys remember, that was like, it was making us late, the conversation. But we were getting a lead. The guy was an awesome dude, a fun guy to talk to. I didn't even think about it. When I'm at work, the other day when we get done, and I was supposed to go work with Christian, all of a sudden it's 6:30. I'm like, oh my God, it's been 3.5 hours since I got out here, a little bit more than that. And it seems like it was 20 minutes, right? Those conversations make the day go by super quick. Cynical people I love too. I'm not going to get these windows done until I'm dead. The guy's like 42 years old. Okay, sounds good. Okay, Andrew, grab it. I should lock the doors. Is what I should do. That's what I should do is lock the doors. What's that?
At least Maria did the store.
Susan does it a lot. So Anderson windows are another thing that I think sometimes throw people for the loop, guys. They don't know how to talk to people about Anderson windows. They get a little bit worried about it. Look, there's 2 ways to handle Anderson windows. And I promise we're almost done here too. There's 2 ways to handle Anderson windows, okay? If you see genuine issues with the Anderson windows, and there is issues that can come up, one of the most common problems that I see with Anderson windows is the fact that the material's worn down to the point where you can see like it looks like black underneath it, but it's the wood underneath it. That, because remember, that vinyl is veneered over. It's like painted over it, okay? So when that starts to wear down, you'll see wood underneath that, okay? And that wood will start to rot out. And that rotting looks just like dark. It looks almost like the paint's wearing off. Like it looks like a wood window with paint coming up. That's one of the most common problems that you can point out there. Another common problem, not as common, but it happens as and we know this one, the end caps rot. So the sides, the sills, you'll have rotting in there, and you can see that extremely clearly when it's happening. But I think that a lot of times people, if they don't see that, then they immediately get, oh, okay, they look good, this and that. No, they don't tilt into clean. If they're more than 20 years old, they don't tilt into clean. Okay, it's another issue. People hate the older screens. Absolutely hate them. That's why you always see Anderson windows with no screens on them, right? So another problem to bring up. The fact that they definitely those windows oxidize quicker than the regular vinyl windows for whatever reason. They get powdery and disgusting. If the street that's right next to the office here, if you were to take it right out of the office and take it right on the street, you'll see it's the second house down on the right. Okay, you'll see every problem you'll ever see with Anderson windows in those windows right there. Every problem. You probably remember this from walking out there. It's the second house right after we go in there. And they had all the materials worn down and stuff like that. That's a great example if you want to see an Anderson window that's in rough shape right there. They're probably 50 years old, terrible shape. So if you're going the problems route, that's the route to go. Another route to go, if they do look newer, is this person made a good decision. Did you get these installed? No, they were installed when I moved in. Well, you made the right investment. These windows are great. I'm sure you enjoy them. Yes, I enjoy them. You know, these are how old? 20 years old. And you know, the original to the home, and they're still holding up this well. That's wild. Agree with the fact that they're good windows. That's the other route to go. That you make the agreement with the customer, make them feel good about it. You know, when we talked to that guy that was in the military that I brought up a couple times, that was a big, that was a big thing there was he felt, I mean, he didn't want to touch the Anderson windows. No. These ones are in his mind, he had said, by the way, those ones were the older ones, the Anderson ones. He said to us at one point, whenever he was being set to Spencer, Spencer said, like, what are we coming to look at or something like that? And he said, oh no, these ones are done. And he was talking about the older Anderson ones. The one that he was saying was not done was the 10-year-old vinyl window right there. Oh no, these ones are done was the language he used. Not that they're good, they're done. Like they had just been done because they were in such good shape. That's great. Prosper that. You made the right investment in your home. You bought this house and it already had Anderson windows in it. That saves you so much time and money, right? Focus in on the products. Like one way that you can do it, for example, this is always a great way, is focus on us getting them the information to at least get the windows looked at. So the way that would go is like this. Cole, play customer phone. Okay. So you're an Anderson customer. I knock on your door. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Paul Duffy. Mr. Freeland? Great, Mr. Freeland. I'm with Renewal by Anderson Windows. The reason why I stopped by is I noticed that you had the Andersons on the home here. How long ago did you move in? Okay, so I'm guessing these were here before you moved in there.
Yeah, I have.
Well, and judging by the neighborhood, they look like they're original to the home.
Yeah.
Okay, because they're probably about 20 years old or so. And congratulations on the home, by the way, too. This is a great home to buy because somebody invested in these windows already. A lot of neighborhoods that we go to, we just see, kind of crappy vinyl windows in the new homes. Somebody invested in this home early, which is great. I'm sure they did a really good job with it. Good. I'm glad to hear that. What's the best thing about them? What do you like most about them?
Don't really. I mean, as far as them, they all work great.
Good.
I mean, yeah.
Good. Yeah. These windows hold up really well. And, there's a lot of changes in technology. One example of what we change is our material. The Trex decking material,
Oh, yeah.
like the
Yeah,
fake decks.
yeah,
Okay, cool. Excellent. How old's that?
um,
2 years. Okay, cool. Excellent. So you haven't got a chance to walk on it a ton yet. What do they say? They last 25 years or something, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's with walking on it. That's with snow and the harsh environments in Pennsylvania. That's the material that we actually make our windows out of.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yep. So we made that big change. What it does, it allows us to make thinner sashes so that you get more glass space in your windows. The material lasts for a lot longer. You're not going to run into any of the problems that you'd run into with even these older Anderson windows, for example. And another big update that we had to our material too to our product too, is that all our windows tilt and clean now, and you can actually open them with one hand. Yep, it's pretty amazing stuff. So, I'd like to make a suggestion to you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
What I do is I'd have somebody come out and they can actually test. They would test the energy efficiency of these older Anderson windows, make sure that they're holding up well for you. And if we can't be a service to you or anything like that, then we'll recommend someone who can. But what we do is, if we can help you, we'll show you the updates in technology. We'll show you the new products that we have. Then just leave you with a free price quote. So that way down the line, you have the information set aside for eventually when you do decide to replace them. Does that sound like it at least be helpful to you? Okay, great. So everything becomes about the positivity. Everything becomes about good windows. Now, if he says to me, like I've heard many customers say to me right there, well, it won't, I mean, I don't really need that right now. They're holding up really well, right? No, that's exactly why we're here, though. I can tell definitely that they're holding up really, really well. We're here just as a service to you. We can check these windows out, see what kind of problems, if you're having any, they were having, and then leave you with a quote that's good for a year. So if you ever run into any problems down the line, you have the information set aside. It's very easy to get over because you're already in the positive with the customer, right? The purpose of the appointment changes. The appointment is to check the windows out. We love seeing these. I always say to people like this, like looking at antiques for us, Mr. Jones, we love it, right? It's amazing. It's like walking into a museum for us, Offer it as a service coming from Anderson to them. They're an Anderson customer. This is a service. Everything becomes about that. That's an easy way to pitch Anderson Windows and to stay in the good graces of the customer. So it's 11:54 right now. Let me just check my notes to see what else I got for you. Oh, yeah, big thing. We've had a lot of issues with lead quality over the last couple of weeks, mainly with one parties and not homes. Okay. No doubt it's because of what people are saying out there. Man, I had to burp for a while there and it wasn't coming up. It did finally. Mainly with what people are saying out there, there's issues. And I could tell because I've seen it. People are ignoring what the customer is saying. People are changing their scripting to it's a lot more blatant than I assumed that it was. So for example, you can't tell the customers 90 minutes, it might not take that long. I know at least 90 minutes, whether we need it or not, might sound like that. You're saying the opposite thing. When you say whether we need it or not, you're saying even if we don't need it, we still need it. It might sound like you're saying it might not take that long, but you're not. You're saying even if it doesn't take that long, we still need the time, right? The language needs to be shut up big time. If the customer is saying, I've seen personally twice with different people, my wife's not going to be there. That's okay. Just straight up. Okay, that's okay. No, we cannot do that. It's not all right. It's not all right. One thing that's come up recently is and I've heard this before. This is something that's gone on for a long time. Is your husband will be home, right? Okay, your husband will be home, right? Okay, fine. We can come out to see it. No, they got to be engaged in the appointment, guys. There's no commitment. All right, so think about this, right? Theoretically, do they have to be sitting there all time in the appointment? No. Like, here's one thing that I would say. For example, if the lady says or the husband says, my kid's going to be running around and stuff like that. Okay, well, we're very understanding of things like that. If you do need to leave to go, feed the kids or something, then that's okay, as long as you're there for the appointment. That's different. That's different because you're still telling them that they need to be there. You understand how low, first of all, it looks shady. If we say to them, well, they need to be here, but they don't really need to be here. It's shady. Okay, number one. Number two, what commitment level do they have to having their spouse there if we're telling them it doesn't really matter, but they just need to be in the vicinity, the general vicinity? There's no commitment level there. They're not going to have the person there. And we're not going to pay on things like that. We're not doing our job there. Our job is extremely clear. We'll give up the 1 lead a day to get the extra 3 a day. Because that's what'll happen, guys, is if you don't spend time with someone like that, or you spend time, by the way, too, most of these things can be smoothed up. Most of these issues, it was a couple weeks back, I was with somebody, and the person was like, oh, yeah, no, it's just going to be me. My husband won't be there. No fight back at all. Okay, sounds good. And of course, I jumped in, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, ma'am. I apologize. This person's kind of new. We do need you both home for the appointment, but I'm sure that we can find a time for the both of you. Oh, okay. You need us both there? Yeah, that's fine. No problem. No problem. But the person just did not want to rebuttal that person. It wasn't even a rebuttal. Did not want to answer that person. I didn't want to lose the appointment. Guys, it's not about losing the appointments. Well, you look at the people that have the best numbers. They don't have, Josh has 90 set appointments and then 87% or 92%, whatever is demo rate. You don't need to sacrifice quality for quantity at all. It's proven out time and time again. As a matter of fact, if you look at the people that have the worst demo rate, a lot of times it's people that don't have a lot of leads because they're sacrificing other parts of their script too. So they're like, oh, they're not rebuttaling. When they do get that appointment, they could just set it normally, but instead they're sacrificing and bending, what they do, and it's causing a bad lead quality, right? Those trends we don't want to start. It's going to kill the sales reps. And you talk about them making mistakes and stuff like. It's much easier, I'm sure, as a sales rep to make a mistake on an appointment when you've gone to 4 not homes in a row. Why would I want to go out to your? Oh yeah, I'm sick today. Sorry, I couldn't run that appointment. Why would I want to go to your appointment if I've been to 4 for you already and they've all been not homes and I've wasted all this gas money? I'm not getting paid anything for it. I'm not getting paid any gas money back. They don't make gas money for driving. They get paid no hourly wage. So they're driving all the way out to the appointment for what? For nothing, for no chance to sell, So you gotta be mindful of those things, guys. We are an important part of this machine. We are the first part of this machine. Well over $1 million in sales right now. How we respond to things like that and how proactive we are about things like that is really important. It's really important. Okay. So I've given you a list of things here, and I'm going to go through here and make a list of things we went over for people that didn't write as many notes as maybe as they could and whatnot, at least like a bullet point list. I hope you wrote notes. This will be up on the YouTube page. It's extremely important, guys. the reason why we took so long to get on here this morning was because I was meeting with the managers and we were talking about solving issues. If I go on the road with you and you change nothing, you do nothing to make yourself better. It's wasting my time. It's wasting my time and it's wasting your time. And there's other people I could work with that want to make changes into what they're doing. And that recognize the value in doing that. Like I've said to you in the beginning, that's all I ask from any person here is that you strive to make changes to make yourself better and whatnot. That will prove out in numbers. You'll see that in numbers. If you're doing that, whatever we get together, you can replicate that, right? Spencer's been on my screen for like the last 20 minutes. I don't know why. It's because I'm talking. It doesn't like shift between people. So Spencer got 5 with me the other day. I got 5 the day before that too. Right? So do I expect him to get 5 every day? No, but I expect that he can get himself to that goal of 3 by next week. Right, Spencer? 3 per day by next week. I expect that he can definitely do that. Right, no problem, and I'm sure he will. Right, because I've seen it repeatedly now. You definitely can do it. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you. We got the series of questions there. People that answer right are going to have a contest to see who gets some prizes. All right. I'm gonna throw one more in there. Okay, one more in there. All right. We talked about the material Trex decking. Right now, I don't talk a lot about our windows when I'm out there, but one thing that is a really cool product that I think is just the coolest product that we have. Is this, and that's the question is, what is the coolest product we have in my opinion? Okay, in my opinion, and it's the True Scene Insect Screen. One of my favorite things. The True Scene Insect Screen is my favorite thing. Why? Because I look at all these people, and I don't talk about it to a lot of people unless they have a good view. Views where I talk about it when people have nice views. The house, when I see they have terrible screens. Our screen is very different. You've only ever seen fiberglass screens and aluminum screens, Mr. Jones. We have a stainless steel screen called True Scene Insect Screen. It's virtually invisible. You'll see this view so much better from your home. That's my favorite product that we have for that reason. It's one of the most impactful products that we have. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions?
When is the exam?
Monday, right before
Tuesday.
shippers. Yeah, we'll just go around and ask everybody. We'll ask everybody. What I'm going to do is Monday, I'm going to ask the 3 questions or 4 questions. Everybody will write it down. I'll check everybody's stuff real quick, and then we'll have a contest based on who gets it right.
Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. Every time I say Monday, it means Tuesday. That's going to go on for a number of days here.